We will call this meeting to order. Ms. Rebecca, could you roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Chairwoman Kaylin Paxson.
I'm present.
Board members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Sylvia Campos. Eric Cantu is absent. Brent Chesney. Paulette Guajardo. Gil Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez will be participating by WebEx, but I'm not sure if he's connected yet. You there, Mr. Hernandez? No? Okay. John Mattis. Mike Pesley. Everett Roy is absent. Connie Scott. Here. Mark Scott. Here. Carolyn Vaughn. Here. Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is public comment. Do I have anyone here this morning who would like to make some public? Come on forward.
Thank you very much. My name is Lou Ludostansky, 14813 Leeward. I'm the president of the board of directors of the Gulfstream. I just wanted to come here today to let you know that about 2 years ago in March of 2024, we got a representative from the city that came to us and said, hey, we've just budgeted through the CIP $15 million to improve the seawall. It'll benefit you because we'll take responsible for the maintenance. We'll have FEMA back to you, and we're going to build you a brand new seawall. And said, great. The only catch is you have to sign the easement, and everyone has to sign the easement. So we were very concerned about that, and we partnered with Dan Suckley and Jeff, and the Gulfstream took on the burden of generating legally the LOI, working with Janet Whitehead in the city attorney's office to do the legal document. And then we began pursuing, with Jerry Sinclair on our board, with Dan and Jeff, pursuing all these property owners, which was almost impossible. But success finally happened earlier this year in January, and it was a done deal, $15 million. KI, Chris News, Island Moon, Caller Times, everybody's excited about the seawall. We had a kickoff that the city officials attended. It was a workshop with the people who designed it, Hanson, in, I guess it was April of this year, and followed up very quickly with a site visit. We were ready to go, and then found out later on there was no money. So I was in shock. I watched all of the videos, all the prior TIRZ meetings, and found out that as of April 25th, the documents that you review every week show a $5.5 million shortfall. So we have no money. There's no way to get this project done. So what I've done is come here and ask the city to keep their word and to figure out a way to fund this. I got nervous when I started seeing city streets being reallocated to skate parks, and also, $2.1 million. I talked to Brent. He didn't know we weren't funded. So I've just come here to ask, please fund our project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have any other public comment? Ms. Rebecca, do we have any, have you received any public comments?
Any written comments? No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay, thank you. Peter, if I may really quick on that comment that we received, I know that's an item that we have been anticipating the funding filling in through TIRZ to be able to move forward on that project. But I've talked briefly to, I know it was Heather previously, and a little to Jeff and yourself as well, that there could be some opportunities through other flooding mitigation funding for that shortfall for this initial payment.
Yeah, that's correct, Councilwoman. So we're looking at alternative funding choices to include the sales tax that was approved for flood mitigation, the Type B sales tax that'll go into effect in March. Okay. April of 2020.
Time on that.
Right. And then we can look at also, we've told the community looking at our next bond program. It could be a potential as well. So there's sufficient money to complete the design and start the initial work. It was the $15 million never would have been spent in 1 year. Mm-hmm. And so financial decisions were made and recommended to the TIRZ board to manage the TIRZ. And so we'll look at other funding sources. The project is still viable. It's still under design. And what we did with the community in terms of the easement and the signing of the right-of-way to the city, it was still a good recommendation because we can get access to the seawall and address the engineering issues that exist today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Paxson, I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Hernandez has joined, so just so you're aware that he has joined.
Thank you, Rebecca, thank you. I just want to assure our partners, because I know a lot of work went into being able to secure these easements, and the city and all of those property owners, we've worked a lot together. We have tried to make it very clear that we have a commitment to make sure that the future of that seawall matches the vision for each of those property owners, and it's still very much a priority, but and so much so that we are looking for additional ways to fund that to expedite the project.
Ms.
That's
Paxson,
correct.
also a reminder, this isn't on the agenda, so yeah, we probably need to limit our discussion, ma'am, but thank you.
Thank you. I'll go through some other comments if I can do this correctly. I have Board Member Vaughn.
Can I comment on it, Rebecca?
Statement of fact, right, very briefly. The same rules apply to this body as they do for city council, so
Good.
like extended discussions.
Well, it's not a statement of
work.
fact because I have questions. This needs to be brought back because if we had a project that we put forth and then we did not fund it, but yet we're taking other projects after, there's something wrong with that. We shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
That's
well,
my concern. And as a board, we should be looking at the projects that we've already funded and make sure that we have the money before we start other projects. That's my opinion anyway. So, Mr. Sinoni, we need to bring this back. I'm glad he brought that up.
Yeah, we'll put together either an item on the agenda or a memo that explains what happened, so this board will know and the city council will know.
But did we approve the project and say we were going to fund it?
We did, yeah, that's correct, Councilwoman, we did, at 15 million, and 15 was a low end. It could take a lot more, depending on the quality of life amenities that are put on top of the seawall. And so I think the decision was made anticipating use of other funds. So there's still 100% commitment to the project. It's just there was options and funding that other projects may not have had that access to. And so things like the 1/8 cent for flood control that the voters approved, this is an eligible project. So it's a matter of just trying to address numerous projects across the island and city and using resources that best fit a particular project, in this case, the seawall.
Well,
So we'll get the reconciliation and bring it back for the board in the form of a memo. So you'll have that immediately, and then we can always put an item on the agenda.
because the seawall is so important now.
It is, no, and the gentleman that spoke is absolutely correct, where it took us some time to get commitments from all the property owners. And in the case of a condominium that's there, it was everybody that lived in that condominium or had real estate rights. We had to get their signatures, so it was a lot of work that was done by the city, and the community entrusted this to us, and so we're still delivering the project, just a matter of what funding gets aligned to this project to get it done.
Board Member Vaughn, if we move on to our next business item, which is the discussion for the budget, I agree. I think this is pertinent information for that decision. So I think that just for the process of the meeting, we'll move into that, and we can talk about that some more if that's all right.
Yeah, that's correct. That's good, Councilwoman. There's no budget item, but I think we've wrapped it up. We'll prepare a memo, and then we'll put another item on the future agenda. Yeah.
Thank you. Having no more public comment, we'll move into the next item, which is, did I miss some, Mark, were you wanting to? I'm sorry, I missed your light there. Go ahead, Board Member Scott.
Yeah, we're talking about this today because there's an agenda item on the pavilion today, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is a funding conversation, and as such, we should deliberate what other potential funding obligations we have had. So I didn't want the public to think I wasn't interested in this conversation. I think that's the best time to have it.
I agree, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 1, discussion and consideration to approve execution of an amendment for the Briscoe King Pavilion project.
Good morning, Daniel McGinn, Interim Assistant City Manager. Also with me today, we have the applicant's design team, the architect, engineer structural engineer, and also their cost estimator, along with Scott Cross from the County Parks Department. So this next item is a proposed amendment to the funding agreement for the construction and remodeling of the Briscoe King Pavilion. The request is for an additional $2.1 million, which would bring the total cost, funding cost up to just over $8 million. And it would fund both renovation and new portions of the structure, along with some site improvements. Here's a look at the proposed site plan. The Briscoe King Pavilion is located within the Padre Bali Park out on North Padre Island. The blue area is parts of the site plan. There's some ADA parking that's required, some septic tank work, and some drainage that would be part of that light blue area. The yellow is the new portion, the new construction, new square footage that would be added, and the yellow and the green is the remodeling part. And so, of course, this pavilion is a critical item for the island. It serves as a community kind of center space. It will be used for rentals. As part of the agreement, the city does have the ability to utilize the facility for, I know ISAC is probably one of the big meetings that would occur there on the city's end. And it really is just a nice complementary addition to that park and would benefit the community greatly. Here's some renderings of the facility. Here's just a little bit more detailed look at the floor plan. And so the upgrades to, a full renovation, ceilings, floors, walls on that existing piece, improvements to the facade, again, some new ADA compliant walkways. These buildings do have to be elevated because they're within the velocity zone, so that's critical to have, you'll have these buildings with the long ramps that kind of go back and forth to get you up to the space. The new events facility will be just under 7,000 square feet, accommodate up to almost 300 guests, for weddings, conferences, those types of things. Have the full fire suppression system, IT improvements that will handle the latest audio and visual components that are used for those types of events. Here's just a look at the timeline. This item has come before this board before on a couple different occasions, starting back in 2022. Here's some of the reasons that were provided from the architect and the design team. I'll let them kind of go into the details, but there, of course, all costs have kind of gone up here in the last year or two. And then the septic system was also an additional expense. And then the piers and foundations, I know were a big item that had to be, I think, pretty deep as far as providing foundation design. The cost comparison, we did kind of evaluate and compare it to some of the current projects that the city has done, and it's right in line. In fact, it's just a hair under some of the projects that we've done with the police academy, police substations, fire stations. We have worked with the architect and the estimator on city projects, and so we know that we know and familiar with their work is very good, and it does reflect the current conditions that we're seeing here in our region. Again, I hit on some of these, but yes, this will include the ADA construction. Will not be a full, I know that had come up last time, the parking lot. It does not include that part of it in this phase. The ISAC did hear this item. They didn't have all the information. They didn't have the funding information last week. We did confirm that we do have some funding available from savings in the Packery Channel Restoration Project at $2.1 million, so we do have the funds available. We didn't have that information or the confirmation of that when we did meet with them, so they didn't have a recommendation for us. They wanted more information, so we really just discussed the item last week. And then, of course, the construction is anticipated to begin following, of course, this approval. They'll go through the plan review process with Development Services, make sure everything is in line, and then they would then go to bid with a really good set of plans to get a real, a good estimate or a good bid. And finally, staff recommends approval of the request, and I'd be happy to take any questions. Again, we do have the design team here as well. So.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, I've got some comments, so I'll go to Board Member Bond first. Did that work? Are you on? There you go.
First off, I'm not against the project, but I do have some questions. So when y'all started out and decided you were going to do it, did you have a cost estimate what it was going to cost at the beginning? Or it was just as we go, we're going to add on?
Could I go first? It might answer some of Commissioner Vaughn or Councilmember Vaughn. Sorry, I can't remember which it was. I can answer some of those possibly. I apologize for not pressing my button sooner, but would that be okay with you?
Of course.
That's all right. Thank you. Let me start by saying, to answer your question, yes, we did. And that was presented to this board, and that was voted on and approved by the City Council. This is a project that, unfortunately, like many of the projects on the island, the costs come in higher than we anticipate. There was an original cost estimate that was approved, that was funded. The money has been transferred to the county. When we got the actual 90% design done, that's when you really tighten up those costs, and they came in higher than we anticipated. We spent a lot of time value engineering it. It was actually, the request was much higher than this, and we value engineered that down. There were also some additional things that have come up that the city's required that have cost some additional funds through the fire marshal and some different things that we didn't anticipate at the time, and Emily's going to go over that with you. The county, just for historical purposes, has participated in this TIRZ for 20 plus years. To date, we've put in $24 million of county funds, and the projections is that the county will put in another 70 plus million, according to the city's website, over the term of the TIRZ. All of that money in the first 20 years went to the city project, which was Packery Channel. We were happy to be a partner in that. We negotiated that back when we were on the council together, Councilman Scott, and that was a great project that has been a great project for this community, but that is a city project that the county has helped subsidize. The paper streets, the skate park, which I fully supported, are all city projects that the county has helped subsidize through this TIRZ. This is the first ask that the county has made, and unfortunately it did come in higher than we anticipated. But if you take the fact that the county has already put in 24 million and projects another 70 plus million, and so we're asking for 8. If you look at it from that perspective, the county would have put in a total of $94 million over the 40 years, and at this point only asked for $8 million. It's a pretty good return of investment for the city, because the rest of the projects will probably be, unless we come up with another one, will probably be the county helping subsidize the city's projects. So that's the historical part that I just do want to remind the TIRZ board of, that we're a willing and happy partner. I can tell you we don't love the fact that we're projected to put in $70 million over the next 20 years, and we're going to have to look for other projects that would benefit Nueces County, because that's hard for us to justify to our constituents why we're helping at that level to subsidize city projects. But again, and I did want to add also that I have had some conversations recently with Mark Escamilla about possibly re-engaging them to come back into the island TIRZ. Mark has indicated that they're going to take that to their board, and that's not something that they are not opposed to. That's not a guarantee, but that is definitely an attempt by the county to hopefully help facilitate another partner in the island TIRZ that might also generate some additional funds that might help with the projects. As Lou mentioned, and I don't want to get too far into it because I think it is a violation of the Open Meetings Act since it's not specifically on, but that was not something that I was aware of, and I'm more than willing to put that back on the agenda and post it properly and have that discussion as we need to have, because if that's something that we've committed to, then we've got to figure out how to fulfill that commitment. And so she's got a lot of information that she can present to you, and specifically on the cost. But I wanted to kind of give that overview and then let her present that to you. But I don't want to stop you from asking your questions. I just think that she'll have a lot more information for you when she presents.
Okay, well, I'll wait till she gets done.
Yeah, and again, you do it however you want.
Oh, you know I will.
I know.
But I'll wait.
But I think it will be very helpful to hear from her how this breaks down and what we've gone through to get it to the point that we've got it.
And you know what, Commissioner, I appreciate what you said, and I understand it, what y'all have committed to the TIRZ, absolutely. That's not why I'm asking. The reason I'm asking is just like I would on any project that the city does.
100%.
It's all, just like DSAL.
Right, and we've done
we've
done it by the book.
Yeah.
We did the initial cost estimate. We got it to the 90%. The cost estimates came back higher. We value engineered it internally. Then we came back with a lower request from the value engineering, and that's where we're here today. So we've followed the procedures and done it by the book. But when you go from a 60% or a 30% design, as you all well know, costs get more realistic and go up. And that's what's happened is, unfortunately, all we've seen on projects that are escalations of things coming in higher than we anticipated everywhere, but the island seems to come in 10 or 15% higher, maybe more than anywhere else that we've built on, and we do a lot of construction on the island.
Sure.
So-
I'll wait, Caitlin, I'll come back.
Yes, thank you. And you wanted to provide some more information? Please, thank you.
Good morning. Emily Rosie Paul, I'm the architect. So to answer your question specifically, yes, in 2022, we had a rough estimate based on 3 sheets, a schematic, floor plan, site plan, and elevation. Absolutely no engineering. That is the money that has already been approved. That was the $5.9 million. Our contract we received signed was in April of this year to get all the engineering involved. So geotechnical reports, topographic surveys, asbestos reports, structural MEP. So we got to, the original estimate was based on 3 sheets. We got approved, we got all of our engineering. We had an early assistance meeting with the city of Corpus Christi in July. We got to a 60% review set, and that's when I hired Nathan Swinney to do a ASTM Class 3 estimate on the project. That's really a deep dive estimate now with all the engineering. And so that's where the number came at the 60%. The set that I gave him was further along than 60%, but that's what we're calling it, a 60% set. We were closer to 90%, which is where we are right now. We've been sitting on hold at 90%. So with the funding and the deep dive of the estimate, which all of that information I have given to the commissioner and to Dan McGinn. I don't know if you have the full estimates or just the cover sheets, which kind of breaks out the different parts of the projects. So we did add site work per the city early assistance meeting, fire lane. All the site work was part of a phase 2, a future phase that was going to be part of the project, just not part of our scope at the beginning. So then we had the early assistance meeting, and we added in fire lane and some different items that the city required. Another big part of it was the civil engineering that we did not have at that time. Currently, the current facility is kind of on a dilapidated septic system. There is an RV park done not too long ago by the parks that has a lift station. Once we got engineering involved, we got all of those plans to see if we could go over and tie into the lift station. We could not. We looked at going into force main to try to tie into the city, 3,000 linear feet of force main across the highway through developed neighborhoods across multiple streets. So we are now back to a new septic system that will cover both the new facility and the existing facility. Structural engineering, of course, the foundation out there, geotechnical report. We have straight shaft, drilled cased piers, multiple, some of them up to 48 inches in diameter. We looked at building up. The question was asked, could we build up and do slab on grade? The current facility that you see that is actually built up is on pilings. It's underpinned. So the footprint to build up, do retaining walls around that was just the cost of it, and the footprint of that would have been astronomical. So we're back to the drilled piers. The estimates that Nathan did put us right on course with the price of projects currently, right now where they run. We started this in 2022. Everyone understands inflation and what's been happening. From 2020 COVID, 2021 historical data on pricing, where we did the original rough opinion, was not great because a lot of projects got put on hold. So now we're back into, here we are, almost 2026. And so the inflation percentage from that time frame to now could be up to 24% on projects. So I don't like to say we put the cart before the horse. I get asked this question a lot. Was there a price before we got engineering and designed the project? There was. I do feel that's kind of a gap in the system. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse when we don't have all the information yet and we don't have the whole team involved. So yeah, so right now we have the square foot breakdowns as Dan presented to you. So we have pretty much 3 projects in one. We have the new facility, some renovations to the existing facility, which we really value engineered that and stepped it back a little bit. We're just doing the structural requirements that we need, the ADA requirements that are required, and like paint and some finishes. We're adding a little office in there, and that's really it. The assessments we did on the beginning of the facility, even though the restrooms are dated, they're ADA compliant. So there's some things that we could cut back out of it that we could just leave for now, and that could be a future project if the city foresees to come in and update finishes and stuff in those areas. So where we stand right now with the current facility, the colored site plan that they had up there with you with Dan, the cyan part is what we're calling phase 1. That's the site work phase 1. And then the yellow is the new facility, the green is the existing. So 3 separate projects, all in that 617 square feet cost. And so that's where we came up with the 2.1 million from 2022 now to almost 2026. So we are sitting at 90%. We're ready to wrap it up if approved, so it doesn't delay too long. I know Commissioner has asked what happens in the future if this gets delayed further and further. Well, costs could increase. Again, that's depending on how long you wait.
Thank you very much. I've got a couple other questions. While you're here, I'm going to go to those. Board Member Guajardo.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of go back in time here. October 14th of '24. The cost estimate that was presented was based on 2022 figures. So that wasn't explained, I don't believe. It was. That's when we started the project. Peter, I guess I'm asking you, I'm not really asking for him, but was that explained? But here's the problem.
Yeah.
What you're saying, and everything anyone can come up here and justify, and I respectfully say that. I support this project, but I remember specifically, we joked about it. Is it going to cost more, and are y'all going to come back for more? I remember that. It doesn't matter. My point is, I'm just saying, we don't have, and you guys understand this more than anybody, we don't have a policy right now for TIRZ. And we are working on one, I hope, because we all support, I don't know if I speak for everybody, but I certainly support this project. It's needed. But we just heard from someone who has a project also. We have a project that's needed, was funded, then it wasn't funded. We don't really know what happened. We're not going to talk about it because it's not on the agenda. But Peter, it's not, this is kind of the Wild West. And this isn't a first. This isn't a first. So I'm not, I'm not trying to pick on this project, but it's just, we just come back to the well and come back to the well, and we have other projects that are outstanding. My understanding is that there are 3 or 4 projects right now. And again, this project needs to get done. The longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. So I understand that completely. And it is needed in so many ways, for the community, especially out on the island, but for the community as a whole. But we need to think about, if something comes forth today and we say, well, this is 2025, but we're really not going to be doing this until 2028. We didn't plan for this. And so now, to say, well, no, we're not going to give the money. Nobody wants to do that. But at the same time, we just had well, no, that was downtown, but it doesn't matter. We look at what the funding is, what the balance is, what the future balance is for the projects coming forth, and we have to keep that into consideration when this wasn't planned. So for me, I go back to, a policy for TIRZ, and that's because the county, that you guys did it, and I remember saying, yeah, it's a great idea. We need to do it here too, because there's really no real, there is law and order, but to a point where funding is critical, one way or the other, whether we put it forth or not. There's an effect that's not a good one if we don't move forward. But at the same time, there's funding for other projects that haven't seen through. And we didn't, well, I'm not going to talk about that. It's not on the agenda, but it's so important. But anyway, my point is the whole bringing something forth, and if it was said, hey, guys, this is 2022, why didn't we say, well, this is going to cost way more, as time goes on. So I know we can't go back in time, and in hindsight's 2020, but I just want to make those comments. Thank you.
May I make a comment on that?
Yes, please.
In the last time I stood up in front of you, we discussed it was 2022, but I think that more important, we said at that time, there had been no engineering brought on board yet, and that it would cost more. Did we know how much more? No. No, ma'am, we didn't. Yeah.
And thank you for that. Board Member Scott.
So when did y'all talk about, was that October of last year, Brent? Or was that this year? When did?
It was in the fall last year. I don't remember
Got it.
the exact, yes, ma'am.
Thanks, October
Yeah.
24. I'm just trying to find out how far I can go on my excuse, because I wasn't here. There you go. So I got to tell you, this is a big deal. I didn't hear this when we allocated the funds. You know, I remember we wanted to allocate the funds as a TIRZ, and we wanted to write the check immediately, and we were kidding about the timing. I got all that, but I totally missed that it was a, my words, estimate. Man, here's my guilt. I thought that was the number, you know? I thought that was the number, and we wrote the check. We as a body wrote the check, and we moved forward. I do think we can have a discussion on finances, because I want to know more about that, which we can't discuss today. But I'd like to know the impact on funding, because I wrote notes here, and I'll just ramble through them. Tax incentives, I think you and I really listened to you. You resonate your comments a couple of meetings ago that we really need to be making investments to improve tax values, right? Tax increment financing. So when you put $1 in, it creates $2 in value. Everybody's happy. You know, we have the TIRZ that goes in the money that goes in the TIRZ, but the appreciation outside the TIRZ comes to the taxing bodies. That's what it's all about. And a sense that I think we were getting away, have gotten away from contributing to projects to increase property values or tax values in all of our TIRZ. I think that was, that criticism resonated with me over the last, 6 months. Haven't done anything about it, but I want to articulate that position. I do understand there's some quality of life issues. I think this is a great project. I was bugging Councilmember Suckley about this maybe even a year ago. Dude, it's a community center. Let's make this happen. I just didn't realize the cost. I don't share the same opinion, but it may be who I serve between the city and the county. I always thought it was our money, whether it's the city or the county. I never thought about, if it's a $10 project and the city puts $6 in and the county puts $4. That's not accurate math, but conceptually, I always just thought that's why we do this, because we want projects to work. I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't realize we were operating on 2022 numbers. Although maybe somebody, either A, I wasn't listening, which could have occurred, or B, it wasn't articulated to me. I have nothing but 100% faith in the project now. If Nathan's involved, the numbers are right, and I will say that until they're wrong, and then I'll beat him up over it. I'm a big fan of his. Like the wastewater, that's fascinating to me that we weren't really attuned to the fact that we weren't going to be able to tie into the one system, or go 3,000 feet over. That just seems like that should have been more present in somebody's mind as we were calculating costs. My big takeaway is, okay, we've got. That's my last thought is there's the seawall, which I think is a need. If that seawall fails, all the tax values behind that seawall cave, and that is catastrophic to all of our bodies as taxing entities. If the seawall caves, everybody on the island's insurance rates go up. All those values crash. It is catastrophic to the TIRZ, to the city, to the county, to Del Mar College. So to me, that is a priority. And I just thought, and as I was telling the gentleman earlier, I just thought it was funded. I don't know how I missed that either. So I think there needs to be a conversation about the seawall funding and the mechanism to make sure we protect that asset, all of us protect that asset. At the same time, we're having a conversation about how to make this project work. I thought it's great. I think it's a great project. That was a great project. Beat Dan up over, being involved. And I think Commissioner, you guys worked well on this. I totally missed the fact we're using 2022 numbers. If that number would have floated around in my little brain, even I would have gone, whoa, wait a minute. And I hear what you're saying. You did say a year ago that, hey, man, we're going to come back. I just wasn't here for that. I wasn't paying attention to that, and I regret that. But this is a big shock to me to have to put an additional, a couple of $1 million, and I think it ought to be, that conversation at least ought to be had in conjunction with the seawall.
Thank you, Board Member Scott. I will activate for you, Board Member Barrera, but if we can have Peter, maybe Mr. McGinn, are you prepared to speak a little bit on where we want to or where we've strategized the funding for this additional ask? Because I know I've talked to staff a little bit about that in preparation for this meeting, and I think a lot of our questions are going to center around that.
Yeah, the funding availability, we had this confirmation that it's going to come from the Packery Channel Restoration, the TDM project, and so we had some confirmation last week, late in the week, that those funds would be available at $2.1 million.
It's federal, just to explain a little bit more, Dan, the federal government reimbursed us an additional $2.1 million for work that we performed on the Packery Channel, and that was unanticipated, so that $2 million would be used for this project.
But it could be used for other projects.
Excuse me?
You could use it for the seawall.
You could use it for the seawall, you could use it for streets, you could use it for bigger skate ground, but this request came, and our recommendation is based on the fact that the TIRZ board already approved $6 million, and it has endorsed the project, so to get it over the finish line, so to speak, additional $2 million would be needed. So we felt it's a good recommendation to make to fully fund the project. It hasn't been discussed, but the city will be able to use the pavilion for numerous events. So it's as much as the county is the champions of it, and it would be a county facility. In the agreement that we have with the county, the city will have access to this based on requesting scheduling. And so that could include things like ISAC meetings, which is today there's no place to meet on the island. That we used to use the hotel's banquet room, but now they're charging and there's no budget for it. So the room could be used for community meetings, whether it's discussions on water or the budget. And then thirdly, the facility could be used for intermittent, and it may not be every day of the week, but fixed days in the week for seniors to have congregate meals. We don't have a senior center on the island. So the city would benefit, the region would benefit, the city, county. But for the city, for myself as a city manager, those are some of the compelling reasons to say, let's fully fund this project so that the county will have the asset fully funded. But then the city can benefit from it in many ways, as I just discussed, which we can't today because there's no space in the island.
I appreciate that. That's a very good summary. I think in my summation, and I could be mistaken, but it seems like first, there's a lot of interest here to validate that the funding can be made available for this project. And second, to answer that concern of the funding is that some of the other projects that are equal priorities, such as the seawall, paper streets, I do think they're tied into this conversation because they are commitments that the board has made, but to validate that there are very real other opportunities to fund those as well, so that we can make the responsible decisions, because it sounds like there's plenty of support for this. We just want to make sure that we have that realistically funded. So thank you for that. Thank you. Ms. Board Member Barrera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So here, just when was this project initiated? 2022. 2022? Okay. I mean, I've been supporting it for quite some time. I mean, I know that's when the funding was allocated, but yet it still had been thought of way before then, correct?
It was allocated in 24. I can't remember when we started talking about this. May have been 22 or before even.
It was before.
We've been talking about this for years.
Yeah, I agree, and I almost feel like I fully support this project. Sounds like, well, with all due respect, or you know how you can say anything about anybody and say, well, bless their heart. You know?
My wife says if you say with all due respect, that's condescending, but I don't think it is, so please feel free.
Okay. So here's the thing. So once again, I fully support this project, but I'm a tax and spend Democrat. So I'm not a conservative. I love projects like this. I think Sylvia loves projects like this. I said, so those of us that are on the more liberal side love this project. Okay, so I just want to share that with you, how excited I am to support this project. Now,
is that all? You can stop now.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done.
I didn't think so.
I also want to comment that there was a time when I got much more aggressive with regard to supporting the seawall, this project. that then council member Pussley had basically made a comment. Well, I guess Roland Barrera is running at large now, since I wasn't so much on the district side. And so I think it's a great project. I was really enthusiastic until you started telling me about how philanthropic the county is with regard to their contribution to the city. I think we all contribute. As far as I know, Corpus Christi the majority of it is in Nueces County. And I love partnerships like this. I think it's amazing. I think we all ought to work together, because if the citizens of Corpus Christi benefit, the citizens of Nueces County benefit. I think if people live in Agua Dulce, if they live in Bishop, if they live in Driscoll, chances are they're coming to Corpus Christi to go to the movies, to buy washers and dryers, Port Aransas. If they're coming from Port Aransas, as a former board member of the RTA, I made it a point to be very much engaged with the small cities, Port Aransas, all those communities of which we all want to be partners. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm having a little heartburn over the county being contributed. Now, however, I do, like I said, I'm a big supporter of this project. I really wasn't going to go there until, what is it? That just kind of piqued my eye. But hey, Commissioner, you have my support in this project. I think it's a good one. I think we need to solve the problem out there. I do want to state, though, that I did ask, what if it goes up to $5 million, and we said we'd value engineer it, and that's okay. Stuff happens. Stuff happens. A desal facility go from $750 million to $1.2 billion. Stuff happens. But that was at 10% design. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I off the agenda? How much time do I have left? Because I'm going to use it all. Are we timing me? Oh, yeah. Anyway, I would like to I make the motion to support to move forward to initiate for the project.
Second.
Thank you.
And thank you. And then you were up next, Board Member Chesney.
He's got me so off, I don't remember what I wanted to say. Can I go to her first?
You're welcome.
But, yeah, I'm not sure what he said. Go ahead. I'm going to let her go first, and I'll come back around. I really forgot what I was going to say after all that. I mean, I was so compelled to listen to.
I can go home now.
I know. Yeah.
God can take me today.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Thank you. What I was going to mention too, because of what I don't want to happen is any more escalations at the 90% design. Depending on how fast the city can turn it around, the county has already approved the 90% design, and we have a procurement method that will allow us to go out quicker, and that will get us to construction a lot faster. So that was the point I wanted to make also, that we have that in place thanks to Scott Cross and Michael Robinson confirming that, our purchasing director letting us know that we can do that, and so we can cut down that competitive bidding process that could take a lot of time, that will get us to construction faster, that will hopefully avoid any more, because believe me, I don't like coming back asking either. You think I do, but I really don't, because I'm not a tax and spend Democrat. But I do want to get this project done. I think it's super important for the island. I know everybody up here does. And again, when the mayor and Greg Smith and I started talking about this, it seems like forever ago. Every project seems like forever ago. It was definitely something that I know that she and Councilman Smith and then Suckley and now Paxton is representing those areas have been supportive of, and I'm appreciative of that. So just wanted to point that out as well. Now, you got me, Councilman or Commissioner, whatever the heck you are. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Board Member Vaughn.
Well, Commissioner, you should know that Roland does that on purpose to deflect you, so you can't remember what you were thinking. He's
well.
very good at that. Is $8 million the final number?
This does not include the parking lot, but we're not coming back on that for a while because we know there's a funding problem, but that has always been on the table as well. I think it's going to happen. We're going to have to come back at some point for that, but I'm not asking for that now because I really, really do want to focus on the issue that's not on the agenda, which is helping with that seawall, even though that is a city project, and I'm not trying to give you more heartburn, but it is a project that I think is important to everybody in that vein. That's why we've continued to be a partner in this, because I agree with your sentiment and was simply pointing out some factual portions of that. So didn't mean to give you heartburn.
Yeah, Councilwoman, we don't know if $8 million is the final number. The final number will come in when the bids come in.
But
so this is the problem. This is the This is the probable cost estimate based on the 90% from the engineers. So far, in terms of the city's bidding, we've come in at or below budget on our projects because of the bidding environment. I think the same may apply to the county, but we won't know for sure until bids come in.
Okay, well, to me, this is so important, the numbers that we're talking about here, and I hope that you bring back in the coming year an evaluation of the TIRZ, because I agree with the mayor, we need some rules, we need to change some stuff, but not only on this one, we need to do it with the city, because this is nothing unusual. Coming back for money, because they did it with the hotel, came back for $2 million more. So it's nothing unusual, so they all need to be changed, every one of them. And I don't think we need to start projects and not finish them. That seawall really concerns me, so I hope that when you come back, Kaylin, Councilwoman, that we can come up with some kind of idea how we're going to get that funded. Because to me, I'm with Mark on that. If we have a hurricane or something out there, it's not going to matter what you got out there standing if you don't have some kind of protection. So that's huge. The other thing is this. I like the idea of the use. I just want to make sure the county agrees with the senior use, because y'all don't have a senior facility out there, which is unusual, and also for the ISAC, because they do have to come into town. I'm sure they don't mind, but they would probably love to be able to do it out there. And then as far as the city use, I don't know how often you would use it, but still, but my other concern is this. Are y'all going to use it for something else like venues or anything like that? Okay, this is my concern. We are competing with the public. And I don't like competing with the public. I think that is so important, and I don't think we should be doing that. I just don't. But I also understand, after being a county commissioner, you need money, and I get that.
But there's no venue out there to compete with.
I know.
That's the whole point of this.
But
there's no venue out there.
there could
To
be.
honest.
I know that.
I mean, there's nothing on the charts. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I know of, and anybody in here might know of a venue.
Not of that scope, not of that size.
We just provided a TIRZ incentive
To a hotel or something.
space in a hotel.
Right.
But I don't think it's that size.
But
I
that
don't
means-
think it's that size.
Well, that means the TIRZ. That means.
Well,
the
it's
TIRZ
really
is
my
subsidized.
time here. I'm on the microphone, so let me wrap it up.
Well, so that's another TIRZ subsidized project then. So we're
Yeah.
giving them subsidy too.
Well, that's my concern. But I do support it. Y'all have already started it. You've already put money in it, so I don't think you go back. But I think we have to go back and figure out what we're going to do with that seawall. Thank you.
Agreed.
Okay, Board Member Campos.
Thank you. I don't know about this Democrats tax and spend thing, but I do like to make sure that these taxes are being used for public use, right? I mean, that's what we're about. It's ironic that the city manager did mention some of the reasons that why it's so important for this pavilion to be fully funded. Well, all of us, I mean, every project that we approve, it's important, right? That we fully fund it. But again, I'm kind of missing, Board Member Hernandez here, because I think he'd have a trip here with this increase, because it's, here we are, 24% increase, right, from 2022. I mean, okay. So, and then I do appreciate, Board Member Chesney, that you went ahead and stated, I think, I didn't actually get all the numbers about what you had calculated that the county had invested and some of our projects. But, I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework either to say how much the city has invested as well, which is the bigger bucket. So as much as I want to approve this or support this, the $2 million is an issue for me. And I would like to know what would happen if it didn't pass. What actually would happen if it did not pass? What would you do? Who can answer that question?
Basically, you would have to reduce
Hold on, let me try to get your mic on there.
reduce the capacity down to where it would be, I don't know what size it would be. That's the only thing you could do, because the informal surveys that we've done is the 300 capacity is what is needed and for events to have a substantive event. So the only thing you could do is reduce the capacity. I don't know what it would reduce down to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's being as honest as I can be
Yeah.
with you.
And for this, I mean, I'm just saying, we have to stop somewhere. I mean, it needs to just end this continuing to come back and, 2 million, 1 million. I mean, it just never seems to stop. And I thought that was a reason that we went to this design, that we would have a better idea, right? That, we wouldn't have to have this as much. And, but I will not be supporting this. So just let y'all know.
Board Member Scott.
I don't think you're going to come back. I think this is a good number. I think Nathan's got a great number. I'm just really concerned about having a conversation to spend any money anywhere now that I have come to the realization, again, shame on me, that we have an unfunded need to protect that seawall. And so what you're asking me, Chairwoman, is that we vote yes today and trust that we're going to have a conversation in the near future to fund that. But we haven't had that conversation. It would be awesome if we had 2 agenda items. One is how we're going to fund the seawall, and then B, second, how we're going to fund the completion of the Briscoe Pavilion, because that's one in the same conversation. But now I think we're putting the cart before the horse. I'm very concerned about that, because we say we're going to solve the riddle on the seawall, but those are just words at this point. And again, I keep coming back. Shame on me, but I don't have the awareness of the conversation you gave just a few minutes ago when you started about maybe putting on the bond election. Since we're going to, are there other ways that we can fund it? Man, that just seems bad public policy to not have solved the riddle on protecting one of the top assets on the island. Because I think years ago we had learned that everybody's insurance rates on the island are tied to that seawall, which I remember at the time thinking that doesn't make sense to me, but that's how profoundly important the seawall is to the island. And what you want me to do today is to spend money on a fantastic project before we have a comfort level that we have resolved the ability to protect what we should think is one of the greatest needs on the island. And so Chairman, our members, that's what we feel comfortable that we're gonna.
But it's not an either or. In other words, I don't know why you're not saying this could be from all the Paper Street projects. Why is it either?
I agree.
Right.
I don't want to spend a penny today.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But hold on. It's not an either or. We have an ongoing project that's 3/4 of the way funded that we need to finish. There's a lot of speculative projects that are out there that we could reallocate those funds if need be, that haven't been started, that haven't been designed, that haven't been where this project is, right? So this isn't pick one or the other. It's take some excess funds that the city manager has found, use that, and then come back that we all agree we have to come back and address that seawall. It's not fair to this project to say that, because I didn't know it wasn't funded, you didn't know it wasn't funded, until Lou reached out and told us it wasn't funded. So now my project that's important too is going to get penalized because somebody somewhere didn't fund the project that should have been funded and should have been, right, well, no, that's, someone should have told us.
Yeah, right, I agree.
We're policymakers that staff's supposed to tell us, somebody's supposed to tell us this isn't funded, here's why, because when we come forward and make votes on things, based on what we're told and information we're given. So this isn't an either or, and that's what I feel like, not you, but that's what I feel like is happening here, because this project has been ongoing for as long as the seawall project's been going on. Mm-hmm. And as far as, I remember when Dan contacted me and I said, heck yeah, let's go. I mean, that's a need too. So, but it's not an either or, and I feel like that's what is being.
I think they should be a conversation at the same time, and what we are being forced into is an either or conversation, because we're saying today we need to vote on A, but don't worry, we're going to discuss and vote on B another day. And my point is that should be a conversation all at one time, that we go, okay, we've got 15 projects, and we're not going to do this one, we got to do this one, and then that's how we're going to fund it. And I'm just, Yeah, so I don't know how I'm going to vote on this,
I think-
but my point
I mean, it's
is,
fair. I just want it to not to be
I hear
either
you.
or, because that's not what this should be.
No.
I don't
because
think
there's
it's
a-
neither or, but I think it should be at the same time, and that's the flaw in the deliberation today, is that we're not having that conversation at the same time.
Well, unfortunately,
think-
this came up
Yeah.
after
That's
this
my
was
point. I don't
put
know
on
why
the
we don't
agenda.
say, hey,
Well, no,
let's put
because-
this off 2 weeks and let's talk about the whole thing. And I hear what you're saying. Hey, man, I need to get it done today because it's a great project.
And it's going to go up, and it's going to be, I mean.
I think what some of the things that are play here, we know the design on the seawall is funded. That's what we're working on. I don't think it's an either or. I think they're simultaneous.
I
and
never
I
said
think-
they're either. Okay, just
I
to be clear.
agree.
I did just
I
not
agree.
say it's
No,
an
you
either
did
or.
not, and that's what I said, it
Yes.
just felt like that's where this discussion was going, because,
Well, let's just need to clarify. That's fine.
and I know you didn't, I didn't, and I
I think
didn't
that
say you did.
we've seen these projects and the TIRZ funding coming down at various years, and when we're going to be able to fill those funding benchmarks and things coming over the years. I think we've been talking about since January, identifying other potential funding sources for this in anticipation. The projects that are going on in TIRZ 2 are large, our construction costs continue to go up, and we want to make sure that that funding mechanism stays in place for these infrastructure items. So we've talked, Peter, since the beginning of this year about where we could find other project funding sources. Those resources also had timelines that we were waiting on. And so while that information wasn't prepared or wasn't available yet for this meeting, jumping over to this project, it had some tight timelines. One of the things that you said, Commissioner, is the faster we can get this done, the more we're in control of keeping those costs down. Excuse me. So I think that while the seawall item, and Peter, you said the design portion is fully funded, we need to finish that.
Right, it's at 90% design today.
Right, so we need to finish that, touch base, and it's not an item today, but it's relevant, it's all funding. Get some more firm answers on that funding source, because that is a priority.
Right.
But that's where those two items weren't here today. To your question, Board Member Scott, and I apologize for that, we're waiting on some confirmations on those that weren't available for this, but this had a timeline. And so we needed to work with that deadline before the end of the year.
My final thought is, or comment is, that we're talking about city and county projects, and it's important to note, I think, that the Packery Channel was really all about protecting. If you look at the language, the federal language, digging Packery Channel was really all about putting the sand in front of the seawall, protect the seawall. So I think that is a excellent TIRZ project. I mean, this Packery Channel, the language was, Packery Channel needs to be done because we need to take that sand, we need to put it in front of the seawall, because protecting the seawall is everything to the island, so.
It's an epic project, very much we're proud to be a part of, 100%. And it was also to open that up for not just what you said, but for tourism, for all the things that Packery Channel has done for that island, and that's what I started with. We're very proud to be a part of that project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you're asking a lot of me, not that I matter any more than anybody else, but you're asking a lot of me to vote to spend money here without resolution on the seawall, and so I'm going to be a real jerk about seeking resolution on the seawall going forward.
Thank you, Board Member Scott. I have Board Member Vaughn, and then Board Member Hernandez remotely would like to chime in after.
We cannot punish this project because of the seawall project. It has nothing to do with it. It's two different things. Can you not fund the seawall with Type A funds? Isn't that what that's for?
Right, yeah, so the new Type B funds that the voters approved 2 Novembers ago, it's 1/8 cent that'll start being collected in after the first quarter of fiscal year 26, so in the April timeframe or so. And that 1/8 cent was dedicated exclusively for flood control projects. There is a list that was on the voter's guide, and so we'll see how the seawall fits in. But that's ineligible. I think that's why, and unfortunately Heather's not here, and she's the missing link on this.
Yeah.
But decisions were made along the way to use alternate funding for the seawall to include the 1/8 cent, to free up TIRZ monies for TIRZ specific projects that didn't have alternate funding options like the seawall does. So we're going to do some reconciliation of what was said and done and approved when along this continuum. We'll bring that back to the board. Unfortunately, I don't have it here this morning. I wasn't prepared to talk about the seawall this morning. But we'll get answers to that, and to repeat to the gentleman, we're committed to the seawall. It's not only flood control, but it was also to improve the aesthetics of it. It's a unfortunately, it's not the best-looking walk today, and it should be. That is a draw for tourists and locals, and right now it's very unattractive. So a lot of this was putting amenities on it, benches, lighting, just something nice so when you get there, you're
Sure.
like, wow, we're in Corpus Christi, you know, so that's a big part of it as well.
Okay, well, let's not punish this project because of that one. I'm going to support it, and I hope the rest of you will too, because we cannot start projects and stop them, start and stop. That's bad business. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Vaughn. Ms. Rebecca, could you help with Hernandez?
Yes, Mr. Hernandez, are you online?
I'm here.
Okay, can we see you also? There you are. All right, thank you.
Okay. I was trying to remember the discussions that we had with this, and I distinctly remember saying that we, at the city, changed our process so we don't ask for money until we actually have all the engineering done. And I even mentioned that during the meeting, and this is the precise reason why, so we don't have to come back with our hat in hand asking for money. But more specifically, I didn't really hear a plan as to what this additional funding is going to either replace or remove from our project plan for the TIRZ. Is there going to be another project that's not going to be completed?
No.
Or is, okay,
Yeah,
so
no,
do we
Councilman,
know how it's,
the $2 million was new revenue that came in. It wasn't aligned to any project. And so the FEMA monies that came in, it was 2.1 million that'll fund this project. That money wasn't pledged to any project.
okay, so you have this funding, but Commissioner Chesney also mentioned the parking lot. Is that in the budget for our TIRZ?
No, it is not.
Okay, well then we're not really seeing all the information that's required of us in terms of what the funding's going to be. I don't mind. I don't have an issue with this project. I think it needs to be completed.
We're not requesting that. We're not
Are
requesting
you
that.
not
That's why you don't
requesting
have the
from us?
information.
So you're not going to request the parking lot in the future? I thought that was what we were anticipating
But we're not,
from the last meeting.
but we're not making that request today, or you would have that information. You said you don't have that information, and the reason you don't have it is because we're not requesting it today, because we're trying to be cognizant of the fact that we don't want, because all he had was that 2.1 that had come in that was new revenue. We didn't want to ask for any project revenue from anything else to be taken away from anything else, and we wanted to be cognizant of the fact that we've got to work on that seawall going forward. So we only asked for what we've asked for today. That's why,
Okay,
I don't want
Peter-
you to think you don't have the information. That was all I was trying to address.
Is there funding assigned to the seawall?
Just for the design portion, Councilman?
Just for the design portion? Okay, so we're not, it's hard to make a decision on incomplete information with regards to how much money we need to dedicate from the actual TIRZ. Peter, at the next meeting, we need to have a very clear vision of what the expected revenues are and what expected costs are, even ones that aren't foreseen, like the seawall. On at least have initial estimates. I know
Right.
we don't have a design on it yet, but I mean, at least have some earmark for it on our spending, so we're not coming into situations where we're approving funding for projects, not fully understanding what other projects are coming down the road.
Right, and we'll
And
have that,
cost.
Councilman. Yes, sir, we'll have that.
Okay, well, we should have had that for this discussion. But like I said, I think the project needs to go forward. I'm just struggling with not being fully prepared for this. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Connie Scott. We
Thanks.
have two Scotts.
And I just have a question because I wasn't aware of the seawall issue this morning or anything. Were both projects approved by this board previously?
Yes.
Fully funded, approved, or just one was for design or?
No, there was, the term fully funded, it was never fully funded, because I think the estimate was like 30 million in total for the seawall, so it was funded up to 15 million over several years. So far, the design has been accomplished, and funding was reallocated for other projects along the way here. That's what we have to reconcile for the board.
Okay. I just didn't, I wasn't aware of that, and I think if you have another project that's already moving forward, I strongly suggest you finish the project. I do think that that needs to come back up on the other, absolutely 100% agree on the importance of the other project as well. But I would ask for approval for this project to get completed and everything. So that was my question.
Thank you. Board Member Pusley?
Yeah, thank you. Whoa. Okay, how's that? Yeah, when I sat as a part of the city council, I remember, and it's not on the agenda, but we keep discussing it anyway. The seawall was, at least had, Peter, planned funding sources at that time, and so it's a little concerning that somehow has disappeared. But anyway, I just want to say this is a great project. I don't think the Briscoe King Pavilion is going to compete with private industry. I'm very sensitive to that as well. But you know, we're trying to find a place for organizations to have meetings, nonprofit organizations that are now having to pay for places to have meetings. And, you know, after they tore the Schlitterbahn down, we don't really have a place on the island to have those kind of meetings. But, Board Member Barrera, I was exactly right when I said you were planning to run at large. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We've got one more comment over here, Commissioner Mares, and then just as a reminder, we will have commendations in about 12 minutes. Go ahead.
I'll take all 12, Madam Chair. Funny how some of us come full circle to come back into the City Council chamber, but for me, as I think we all agree, the funding is a concern, but the collaboration for me is always what's important about governance. And so anytime that we can have two entities, especially as important to the tax base, economic development, and to supporting the quality of life for our community, when we come together like this, we can do great things. And I know that we have, and I know that this is a challenge, but I just want to remind ourselves and the community that we're here for the greater good and to work in collaboration together. So I believe that this project does that, and we'll make sure to keep supporting it on the county's end with Commissioner Chesney's guidance and, of course, through Judge Scott as well. But you know that we are here to work with you in good faith and to hear the same and share the same concerns, Councilmember Campos, as well. This is not always perfect projects, and the funding is definitely an issue for all of the taxpayers here in our community. But we are committed to working in full faith and partnership with this collaboration. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, I don't know if we can make that available before the end of the meeting or right now. Do we have a fund balance offhand? I don't know.
Let me see if the staff has it. Does anybody have the TIRZ balance? Do we have the TIRZ balance? Right, let's see if Amy might be able to talk about.
Thank you, guys. Also, I had a question real quick, Commissioner Chesney, while they come up. What's our annual, do we have any kind of anticipated, like a revenue amount that property, once it's built and furnished and fully operating, do we know about annually what that brings in?
Do you know that? He can give you an idea, but
You have an idea you
obviously
can
it's a new
share?
facility, so
Yeah, it's an estimate,
it might be a guesstimate.
educated guesstimate.
Hi, excuse me 1 second. Scott Cross. So, yeah, annually, that pavilion gets rented out, the old one, it gets rented out almost every weekend and some weekdays during the year. The problem with it is it's not conditioned space if you've been in it. And so a new pavilion, whatever you want to call it, whatever it ends up being called, is going to open itself up to a market that we've never seen before, because we don't have those big wedding venues or graduation parties or something where people are wanting a catered kitchen and or a small catering kitchen and all that kind of stuff. So, but right now we probably generate around $45,000, $48,000 a year in revenue. That's our net revenue off that building right there that we're using, but it has limited use right now. And if any of y'all have ever been in it, you've seen it. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still going to be a pig.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Cross. Commissioner, Board Member.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just real quickly, first of all, I want to thank Board Member and Commissioner Chesney for bird dogging this project. This is a great project, Brent, and thank you very much, along with what you're doing on the pier. And I know those have both been challenging projects, but I think they're both great for the community. And what Scott just said is extremely important. When we have a facility like this that we can use in any specific area of our city, it helps the local businesses. It helps the mom and pop businesses that are supplying the services that are going to be utilized at these kinds of facilities. So we do that at, the county has a number of community facilities where there are all kinds of events held that depend upon the local businesses to supply food and rent tables and whatever the case may call for. But I think this is an example of that, and this will be good for the island. It gives us a place finally, like I said before, that we can hold meetings and have things that we'll all use, and as Peter said, that the city will be able to take advantage of as well. So thank you.
I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning. Amy Cowley, Director of Management and Budget. We began fiscal year 26 with a beginning fund balance of $3.7 million, and we're projected to end fiscal year 26 with a fund balance of $400,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that information. Okay, I don't see any more questions in the queue. Does anyone have any questions? I know we have a motion and a second on the floor. All right, no other questions. Then do we want to queue voting, or should I take a verbal vote?
Right now, if you could take a verbal vote, we do need to ask Mr. Hernandez. He needs to be seen and heard to participate. So we can do a verbal, and then we'll ask him for his vote as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right, so with a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. 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 Mr. Hernandez? Is he?
Aye.
Okay, can we see you? Okay, you said aye. Okay, very good.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just Ms. Campos, okay.
Okay, then it passes. And having no other business? Yes.
We possibly set a very quick TIRZ meeting to discuss the item that wasn't posted and to bring that back before the end of the year to discuss the seawall? Would that be appropriate to do today?
Absolutely. Let me work with staff.
I know y'all
and see
maybe
if
have
we
one
can
more
schedule
meeting?
that a special
Or y'all have one
meeting.
more meeting, right?
Our next Tuesday's booked up already, but we'll work with the city secretary to see if we can do that, Commissioner.
See if there's another date.
If not, maybe the first meeting in January.
Okay.
It may not be on a Tuesday, but we'll see what we have availability for.
As soon as, I'll make myself available. I know all of y'all will too. Whenever y'all want to do that, I'd like to put that on as an agenda item to get done as quickly as possible.
Yes, I appreciate that. Okay, having no other business, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
But I didn't say that. We want to go play for it. Thank you. You bet.
But you know what, an architect needs to know what the sewer system's going to do, what the fire lanes are going to